A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is day 5 of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah. We all started Ramadan with high hopes. Had a lot of plan. I'll do A, B, and C. However, some of us are quietly wondering if we're doing enough, if we're keeping up with our plans. Yeah, so maybe you had a plan to schedule a version of yourself you were hoping to become by now. But for some reason, that energy isn't holding up. The focus came and went, and somewhere between Sahur and Maghrib, a thought crept into your mind. I'm already behind. You didn't say it loud, you didn't post about it, but it's there sitting quietly. And that is what I want to talk about today, inshallah. Because when the fifth day already feels heavy, it's what's asking, what exactly are we carrying? 5 days in, and already, for some of us, it feels heavier than we expected. Not the fasting, that part you prepared for. It's something else, something harder to name. It's not because you don't care, it's actually the opposite. You care deeply, and the weight of that care can turn inward without you noticing. Maybe Fajr didn't land the way you imagined it would. Maybe you sat down to read the Quran and your mind drifted before you finished a single page. It happens all the time. Maybe your body is tired, your routine already cracking, and you're looking at other people wondering how they seem so steady. And quietly something shifts. Ramadan stopped feeling like a return and start feeling like a test you're already failing. But here's the truth we need to sit with early. Ramadan was never meant to feel like a performance. It was always meant to be a place you come back to, not a stage you prove yourself on. So if it already feels heavy, don't rush past that feeling. Stay with it for a moment because that heaviness isn't the problem. The problem is what we've been told the heaviness means. And that's where the real pressure hides. There's a kind of pressure that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come from someone criticizing you. It doesn't come from a harsh voice. It actually sounds sincere. It sounds motivational. We say it all the time. Make this your best Ramadan. There's nothing wrong with the sentence, but sometimes if care is not taken, it can become a burden because once you've said it and internalized it, something subtle can begin to shift underneath that sentence. You start comparing, not always to someone specific, sometimes to just an imagined version of how your Ramadan should look like by now. Day 5, surely you should be more consistent. Surely the khushu should have settled in. Surely the tears should have come by now. And when they don't, you don't just feel tired. You feel guilty for feeling tired. I mean, it's just day 5. That is the hidden pressure. It doesn't look like burnout. It looks like devotion. But underneath, it's anxiety dressed in spiritual language. Performance driven faith doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from a quiet fear that you're not enough. And the most dangerous part, it changes how you relate to every act of worship. Not by removing it, but by turning it into something you evaluate. Every prayer becomes a score, Every moment of distraction becomes evidence. Every dip in energy becomes a verdict. And before you realize it, you're no longer worshiping, you are measuring. So here's something I have to say: stop measuring your faith like a metric. Was I focused enough? Was that prayer present enough? Did I do enough today? This question sounds like accountability. They sound like someone who cares. And you do care. That's not the issue. The issue is what happened when the answer is no. Because when you measure your faith like a metric, every honest answer becomes a failure. Tiredness stops being human, it becomes a spiritual shortcoming. A wandering mind during Solar stops being normal. It becomes proof that something is wrong with you. You start grading your worship, not with gratitude, but with anxiety. And the grading never stops. You measure your energy, you measure your khushu, you measure your consistency against a standard that no one actually set. But somehow, you've internalized it so deeply that falling short feels personal. When we interpret tiredness as failure, we miss the entire point of return. Allah didn't design Ramadan for the version of you that never struggles. He designed it for the version of you that does and comes back anyway. So the question was never, did I do enough? The question was always, am I still turning back? And if you are here listening to this on the fifth day, you are. But there's a place where the pressure tends to show up first. Before the day even begins, before you've had a chance to try, it shows up in the morning. Pressure shows up first thing in the morning, before you've had a chance to settle into the day. It's already there, waiting. Sahur feels rushed. You glance at the clock. You eat quickly, mechanically, already thinking about what you didn't prepare, already calculating whether you slept enough, already bracing yourself. Then Fajr comes in. And instead of standing calmly before Allah, it feels like an exam. Your mind drifts, your body is heavy. The words come out, but you're not sure you were really there. Was I present? Did I focus enough? Why did my mind wander again? And when the prayer feels scattered, something happens internally. Something quiet but devastating. You assume the whole day is ruined. One imperfect Fajr, and the verdict is already written. The morning becomes a pass or fail. If it feels steady, we feel hopeful. If it feels heavy, we feel behind. And we carry that heaviness into every hour that follows. But here's what we forget: Ramadan is not built on perfect mornings, it's built on returning mornings. The morning you drag yourself up and stood anyway, that counts. The Fajr where your mind wandered, but your feet still carried you to the prayer mat, that counts. The Sahur where you barely ate, but you whispered Bismillah before the food touched your lips, that counts. It all counts, not because it was flawless, but because you were there. So the answer isn't to try harder in the morning. The answer isn't to push through with more intensity, more discipline, more force. The answer is something quieter than that. Ramadan is not asking you to prove anything. Not your discipline, not your spiritual strength, not your what. Read that again if you need to, because somewhere along the way, many of us started treating this month like a performance review. Like Allah is watching with a chipboard tallying up how many times we lost focus. Like the goal is to be impressive. But the real shift, is not to do more. It's this: presence before intensity. Intensity without presence becomes performance. You can pray every raka, read every juz, stand every night and still feel empty because the body was there, but the heart wasn't invited. Presence, even if small, protects the heart. A short prayer where you actually meant the word. A single ayah you sat with until it reaches you. A moment of stillness between Zur and Ash where you just stopped and breathed and remembered. That's not less. That's not laziness. That's not falling behind. That's the whole point. So stop chasing the feeling of enough and start chasing the feeling of here. And here's something we almost never talked about. Something that changes everything once you understand it. The morning doesn't start in the morning. It begins the night before. Think about your last difficult Fajr. Not the alarm, not the cold water, not the tiredness. Go deeper than that. What happened the night before? Was the night overstimulated? Were you scrolling late? Was there tension in the house? Did the night end abruptly? No closure, no settling, just sleep out of exhaustion. Because when the night ends in tension, Fajr inherits it. When the night is overstimulated, the morning feels heavier than it should. You wake up already depleted. Not because you didn't sleep enough, not because the night never actually ended, but because the night never actually ended. It just stopped. And then we blame the morning. But the morning was never the problem. The problem was the night. A settled night protects the morning. Not a perfect night, a settled one. One that has a gentle close. One where the mind is allowed to slow down before the body does. So if you've been waking up to mornings that feels like battles, maybe the answer isn't to fight harder at Fajr. Maybe the answer is to make peace with the night first. And if you're hearing all of this on the fifth day and thinking, I've already wasted so much time, I need you to hear one more thing. You are still at the beginning. Yes, you heard right. You are still at the beginning. If you feel behind on the fifth night, you are not behind. Let me say that again. You are not behind. You are still at the very beginning of the month. The doors are still open. The nights are still long. The mercy hasn't moved on. It's still here, waiting for you exactly as you are. Not the version of you that prays perfectly. Not the version of you that never gets tired. not the version that cried on pew during Qiyam. This version, the tired one, the one who showed up anyway. Ramadan is not a stage. It was never meant to be watched, scored, or applauded. There is no audience here. There is no panel of judges. There is only you and the one who already knows what's in your heart and still invited you back. Ramadan is a return, and a return doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. It requires showing up. And even when the showing up feels clumsy, even when the words don't flow, even when the only thing you can offer is, Ya Allah, I'm trying, that's enough. That was always enough. So tonight, before you sleep, don't scroll through what everyone else is doing. Just settle the night gently. Make your intention quietly and trust that the morning will meet you where you are, because it will. It always does. Stop, breathe, return, return to Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.